What if Spies stole the future of an American watchmaking giant? When you think of a luxury watch, a symbol of sophistication and prestige, which name comes to mind? First, Rolex Omega or Patek Philippe. These names have become legendary, representing the Swiss watchmaking industry, a dynasty that has dominated the world for centuries. We often praise Switzerland for its precision, masterful craftsmanship, and centuries-old tradition. But did this dominance come solely from innovation and refinement? The truth is, the story of the Swiss watchmaking industry is far from simple. Behind the glamour of luxury watches lies a little-known secret, a tale of corporate espionage, deception, and a fierce battle to control time itself. And their adversary was not some European powerhouse, but a small American company named Waltham. In the mid-19th century, while Swiss watchmakers were diligently crafting timepieces by hand in small workshops, a revolution was unfolding on the other side of the Atlantic. The Waltham Watch Company pioneered the use of automated machinery and assembly lines to mass-produce watches. This was a true industrial revolution, transforming the watch from a luxury item reserved for the elite into an accessible product that ordinary people could own. Waltham didn't just produce watches faster, they were more accurate and far more affordable. They became a genuine threat to the entire Swiss watchmaking industry, challenging its position of dominance. The story reached its climax at a monumental event of the century, the Centennial Exhibition of 1876 in Philadelphia. This was not just a celebration of America's 100th anniversary, but also a stage for nations to showcase their technological prowess. At the exhibition, Waltham displayed its entire production process, from intricate machinery to tirelessly operating assembly lines. They confidently showcased American might to the world, unaware that among the admiring crowds, sharp eyes were quietly observing and noting every detail. These were spies sent by the Swiss government with a singular mission to steal Waltham's secrets and save their industry. In this video, we will turn back the pages of history to explore the remarkable rise and tragic fall of Waltham. We will delve into the intricate espionage plans of the Swiss and, more importantly, draw profound lessons about competition, innovation, and security in the business world. This story is inspired by the book Disrupting Time by Aaron Stark, an invaluable resource. If you're a fan of historical tales, hidden secrets, and covert battles in the business world, stay tuned until the end to uncover the full story. Get ready, because we're about to embark on a thrilling journey where time is not just a concept, but a weapon. The rise of the Swiss watchmaking industry. To understand why the Swiss spies took such bold risks, we must travel back to the 19th century, when the Swiss watchmaking industry was at the height of its power, but also vulnerable. The industry was primarily concentrated in two regions: Geneva, which specialized in crafting exquisite high-end watches for European nobility, and the Jura region, where artisans worked from home producing larger quantities of watches, but with inconsistent quality. The home-based production model, known as the cottage industry, was the backbone of Swiss watchmaking at the time. Instead of a large factory, hundreds of watchmakers worked individually at home, each handling a specific task, such as crafting cases, making gears, or assembling parts. These components were then combined to create a complete watch. This model allowed Switzerland to produce intricate works of art, but lacked consistency and rigorous quality control. Each watch was unique, with parts that couldn't be interchanged. This became a fatal flaw when confronted with the Industrial Revolution. In 1851, at the Crystal Palace Exhibition in London, Switzerland showcased its strength to the world. They brought high-quality watches that left a strong impression on consumers and experts alike. This event solidified Switzerland's position as a global leader in watchmaking, surpassing England and France. However, behind this success, some Swiss manufacturers recognized the limitations of their artisanal model. They began experimenting with machinery, but progress was slow. Pioneers like Vacheron, Constantin, and IWC started using modern tools, but remained tethered to traditional handcrafting methods. This complacency and slow innovation made Switzerland vulnerable. They believed their masterful craftsmanship would always outshine machines. They failed to realize that across the ocean, a new model was being born, one capable of mass production with interchangeable parts. This model would forever change the watchmaking industry. While Swiss watchmakers meticulously crafted each watch as a work of art, Americans were building massive factories ready to produce thousands of watches daily at a speed and cost Switzerland couldn't match. This difference in mindset and production methods set the stage for the historic confrontation between Switzerland and Waltham. The American Watchmaking Revolution, the birth of Waltham. While Switzerland reveled in its traditional artisanal model, a quiet revolution was brewing in America, spearheaded by a man named Aaron Lufkin Dennison. Dennison, a talented watchmaker, had a bold vision. Instead of crafting watches one, by hand, he wanted to use machines to mass-produce interchangeable parts. In 1850, in Roxbury, Massachusetts, Dennison and his three partners founded Warren Manufacturing, the precursor to Waltham. Their goal was not to create luxury watches, but to democratize timekeeping, turning watches from an expensive item for the elite into an affordable, practical tool for the working class. Waltham's approach was the complete opposite of Europe's watchmaking industry. Instead of relying on individual craftsmanship, they invested heavily in automated machinery. Each machine was designed to produce a single type of component with absolute precision, ensuring all parts were identical and could be mass-assembled on a production line. This eliminated the need for skilled artisans and drastically reduced production time and costs. As a result, a Waltham watch could be made faster and at a fraction of the cost of a Swiss handcrafted watch. This innovation was particularly significant for America at the time. With the expansion of the railroad system, the demand for accurate, reliable watches for workers and travelers was immense. Waltham's watches met this need perfectly, offering affordability and superior quality compared to imported products. However, Waltham's path was far from smooth. Pioneering came with numerous challenges. The initial investment in machinery and factory setup was enormous. Labor costs in America were significantly higher than in Europe, and Waltham struggled to find workers suited for their new production process. The lack of a widespread distribution network also made it difficult to reach the market. These challenges led to a financial disaster. In 1857, just 7 years after its founding, the company was forced to declare bankruptcy. Its machinery was auctioned off, and it seemed the dream of an American watchmaking revolution had collapsed. But this was only the beginning of a much larger story. A determined man emerged ready to write the next chapter in Waltham's history. Royal Robbins and the revival of Waltham. The bankruptcy of 1857 seemed to spell the end of the American watchmaking dream, but it was merely the start of a glorious new chapter. A visionary investor named Royal Robbins saw immense potential in the remnants of Warren Manufacturing. He purchased the factory including the precious machinery that had been seized with unwavering faith in the future of mass production. Robin's first move was to hire Ambrose Webster, a brilliant engineer who had previously worked with Denison. Webster was a master at refining semi-automated processes and designing interchangeable parts. Under their collaboration, Waltham experienced a powerful revival focusing on producing highly accurate yet affordable watches. The outbreak of the American Civil War, 1861-1865, brought an unexpected opportunity. The Union Army needed vast quantities of reliable watches to coordinate military operations. Waltham's watches, particularly the William Ellery and P.S. Bartlett models, perfectly met this demand. They were not only precise but also durable and easily repairable with interchangeable parts. Waltham's watches became indispensable soldiers' watches, cementing the company's reputation. This success fueled Waltham's rapid growth. By 1876, Waltham had become the world's largest watchmaking factory, producing 105,000 watches annually, with over 1,000 workers, 40% of whom were women, a social revolution for the time. Robbins and Webster built a progressive company culture, bright, well-ventilated factories, high wages, and even incentives for employees to buy company shares. They created a workplace that European companies could scarcely rival. Waltham didn't just transform how watches were made, it changed how people viewed labor and industry. They proved that a quality watch didn't have to be a unique, handcrafted work of art, but could be a product of machinery and standardized processes. This resounding success propelled Waltham to the pinnacle of the industry, but it also unwittingly placed them in the crosshairs of Swiss spies desperate to reclaim their lost dominance. The Centennial Exhibition of 1876, Triumph and Peril. In 1876, the world converged on Philadelphia for the Centennial Exhibition, a grand event celebrating the 100th anniversary of the United States' Declaration of Independence. This was not just a cultural showcase, but a battleground for technological and industrial supremacy. At the heart of the machinery hall, all eyes were on one exhibit, the Waltham Watch Company. Waltham seized this opportunity to flaunt its production prowess in a way no company had done before. They didn't just display finished watches, they brought an entire assembly line and component-making machinery operating live on-site. Visitors were astounded to see hundreds of intricate parts produced with incredible precision and speed, assembled into complete watches in mere moments. This technological display captivated not only casual attendees, but also shocked European watchmakers who were accustomed to crafting each watch as a work of art. They could scarcely imagine a mass production process achieving such precision and efficiency. At the exhibition, Waltham won the prestigious gold medal for the accuracy and affordability of its products, outshining all competitors, including renowned Swiss brands. This was the pinnacle of Waltham's success, a moment of glory that affirmed America's leadership in the watchmaking industry. However, this victory came with a deadly risk. Amid the cheering crowds were two Swiss men quietly observing Theophilus Gribby, a judge representing the Swiss watchmaking industry, and Jacques David, a talented engineer from IWC. Sent by the Swiss government on a covert mission, their goal was to uncover why American watches could be produced so quickly and cheaply. Gribby and David spent hours meticulously noting every detail from machine designs to production processes. Gribby was stunned by a machine that could produce a screw every 5 seconds, an unthinkable speed compared to Switzerland's manual methods. Despite warnings about the risk of exposing trade secrets, Waltham's leadership, led by Robbins, remained confident that their true secret lay in the overall system, not individual machines. They believed no one could replicate their complex production process. But they underestimated the determination of the Swiss spies. The Centennial Exhibition wasn't the end of a war, but the beginning of a fiercer battle one, where the loser would pay with their very existence. And corporate espionage. The mission of Jacques David after the Centennial Exhibition. Theophilus Grebe returned to Switzerland with initial notes, but they weren't enough to overhaul the Swiss watchmaking model. A more detailed, compelling report was needed. This task fell to Jacques David, a brilliant engineer who had worked for both Vacheron, Constantin, and IWC. David wasn't just an engineer. He was an expert in production systems, making him the perfect candidate for this mission. In August 1876, just months after the exhibition, Jacques David secretly arrived in America. He didn't come as an industry representative, but possibly under a simple disguise, perhaps as a worker or independent researcher. His target was Waltham's factory in Massachusetts, the heart of the watchmaking industrial revolution. David executed an unprecedentedly sophisticated espionage mission. He visited the factory multiple times, observing every minute detail. Beyond machinery, he studied the entire workflow, worker interactions, and company management culture. He recorded everything from the type of steel used to workers' wages, production costs per component, and even the dividends the company paid. David's most valuable source was an unexpected one, Ambrose Webster, the genius engineer who had helped Robbins revive Waltham. After retiring and clashing with Waltham's leadership, Webster was willing to share information with David. This highlighted the danger of internal conflicts within a company. With Webster's help, David obtained drawings and technical specifications that he couldn't have gathered through observation alone. David's notes weren't mere market research. They were deliberate corporate espionage. He collected trade secrets and proprietary information that Waltham fiercely guarded. These findings would be compiled into a single document, a perfect blueprint for the Swiss watchmaking industry to copy and surpass their rival. David's actions set a dangerous precedent in the business world, showing how thin the line is between healthy competition and espionage. His success would reshape the watchmaking industry, but at the cost of a great American company's downfall. David completed his mission flawlessly, giving Switzerland everything they needed to turn the tables. Li Huang, the David Report, and Switzerland's transformation. After completing his daring espionage mission, Jacques David returned to Switzerland in November 1876. He didn't bring complex machine blueprints, but a meticulously written report considered one of the most effective corporate espionage documents in history. Known as the David Report, it not only described Waltham's machinery, but provided a comprehensive analysis of their business model. David highlighted that Waltham's success stemmed not from a single technology, but from a combination of factors: automated machinery assembly processes, scientific labor division, and a progressive management culture. In the report, David proposed a revolutionary idea. Switzerland's watchmaking industry must abandon its outdated cottage industry model and build centralized factories that blended American efficiency with Swiss craftsmanship. He argued that by using machines to produce standardized components, Swiss watchmakers could focus on high-skilled tasks like finishing and final assembly, improving product quality, and reducing costs. Initially, the David report faced skepticism and fierce opposition. Traditional watchmakers proud of their craftsmanship believed machines couldn't match human artistry and saw abandoning tradition as an insult to their heritage. However, with the growing threat from American watches, especially after Waltham's triumph at the exhibition, the Swiss government and visionary leaders decided to act. In 1877, just a year after the report's release, a major overhaul began. Swiss watchmakers started building hybrid workshops, with 83 constructed in regions like Biel and Bern within a few years. In these workshops, watch components were made with advanced machinery, while skilled artisans handled assembly and intricate finishing. The result was a powerful renaissance. The Swiss watchmaking industry learned to use machines to boost production and precision while preserving their signature craftsmanship. They shifted their strategy to focus on the luxury watch segment, where brand value and sophistication were paramount. This approach allowed Switzerland not only to survive, but to surpass its rivals, cementing its global market dominance. The David report wasn't just an analysis, it was a detailed roadmap that guided an entire industry back from the brink of decline. The decline of Waltham. After the Centennial Exhibition of 1876, Waltham seemed to have solidified its position, but they couldn't foresee that what Switzerland learned from them would become the weapon to defeat them. The David report sparked a revolution in Swiss watchmaking. While Switzerland restructured and targeted the luxury segment, Waltham made critical strategic errors, gradually losing its leadership. The rise of a domestic rival. Elgin. Waltham faced threats not only from abroad, but also from a domestic rival, the Elgin Watch Company. Founded in 1864, Elgin adopted and even refined Waltham's mass production technology. Elgin engaged in a fierce price war, flooding the market with cheaper watches. Instead of focusing on innovation and quality, Waltham joined this race, lowering prices to compete. This not only eroded profits, but also damaged the brand's reputation. The two American companies weakened each other, creating an opportunity for European competitors. Strategic misstep, ignoring the luxury segment. While Switzerland targeted the luxury watch market, creating unique, high-value products, Waltham focused solely on affordable watches. Their success in democratizing timekeeping blinded them to the potential of the high-end market. Switzerland wisely recognized that true value lay in brand prestige and craftsmanship. Brands like Patek Philippe and Vacheron Constantin built a solid image of luxury and superior artistry, something Waltham couldn't achieve. Leadership changes and lack of vision. In 1883, Royal Robbins stepped down from leadership. His replacement, Ezra Fitch, was more a financial manager than an innovator. Fitch prioritized short-term profits, cutting costs, and maximizing output instead of investing in research and development. This left Waltham unable to keep up with industry advancements. While Switzerland continued to improve machinery and processes, Waltham stagnated, relying on existing methods. The 1893 Columbian Exhibition, Switzerland's comeback. In 1893, at the Columbian World's Fair in Chicago, the Swiss watchmaking industry officially reclaimed its dominance. They showcased complex, exquisite watches that blended technology and craftsmanship perfectly. Meanwhile, Waltham had nothing remarkable to offer, having lost its competitive edge. The exhibition was clear evidence that Switzerland had successfully learned from and surpassed America. World Wars and the Great Depression. The two world wars and the Great Depression dealt devastating blows to Waltham. During the wars, the company shifted to producing military equipment like chronometers, compasses, and aircraft parts, neglecting its core watchmaking business. This kept them afloat, but caused them to lose focus on their primary market. Post-war, they struggled to rebuild and compete. The Great Depression of 1929 drastically reduced watch demand, pushing Waltham into financial instability. Despite attempts to pivot to wristwatches and electronic timepieces, these efforts weren't enough to save a company that had lost its innovation and vision. In 1948, the Waltham Watch Company officially filed for bankruptcy, marking the end of a legend. Waltham's decline wasn't due to a single cause, but a series of strategic missteps, fierce competition, and historical upheavals. They were overly confident in their early success and failed to see looming threats. Switzerland didn't win because they were inherently smarter, but because they learned, adapted, and innovated relentlessly. Legacy and lessons. The collapse of the Waltham Watch Company in 1948 ended a golden era of American watchmaking. Yet their legacy endures not only in history, but in the modern watch world. After bankruptcy, the Waltham brand was preserved by a Swiss subsidiary, Waltham International SA, continuing to produce watches. However, it's merely a shadow of the giant that once transformed an industry. Waltham's story remains tied to the corporate espionage war it lost. The greatest secret of this war, the David Report, remained hidden for over a century. It wasn't until 1992 that the document was made public, revealing Jacques David's sophisticated espionage plan and becoming a textbook example of the fine line between competition and espionage. So what lessons can we draw from this historical tale? The first lesson is the importance of continuous innovation. Waltham was once a pioneer, but they rested on their laurels. While Switzerland learned and adapted, Waltham grew complacent, failing to invest in research and development. In business, halting innovation means falling behind. The second lesson is the vulnerability of success. Waltham openly displayed their production secrets at the Centennial Exhibition, believing no one could replicate their entire system. They were wrong. The secret lay in the combination of elements, not a single technology. This story is a powerful reminder of the importance of safeguarding technology and processes, especially in today's global competition. The final and perhaps most critical lesson is adaptability. The Swiss watchmaking industry didn't win because they had superior technology from the start, but because they learned from their rival. They acknowledged their weaknesses, blended mass production techniques with traditional craftsmanship, and crafted a new strategy. This adaptability allowed them not only to survive, but to dominate the luxury watch market to this day. The story of Waltham and the spies who stole time is not just a captivating page of history, but a timeless lesson in business strategy. It's the tale of a giant that fell due to overconfidence and an empire that rose from the brink of decline through intelligence and adaptation. If you found this story compelling and want to dive deeper, I encourage you to read Disrupting Time by Aaron Stark, the primary inspiration for this video. Please share your thoughts on corporate espionage in the comments below. Do you think it's unethical or an inevitable part of competition? If you found this video helpful, please hit like and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on more fascinating stories. See you in the next video.